You ready to pretend you're my friend for another hour, Steve?
That's a big ask, Ryan. Someone in the comments from a recent video asked if we were fighting.
I know. Is this because we teased each other a little bit? Like, I think you were teasing my playing, and I don't remember what it was. But it was like, oh, I could see why he thought that, but no, we were not fighting. That was flirting.
So it's like kindergarten flirting.
Right, it's foreplay, guys.
Yikes. Ryan, tell the folks what they're watching.
They're watching.
No, tell them who you are.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Steve, and you are watching 60 Cycle Hum.
Now we're fighting.
Guitar, buying, selling, trading, modding, fixing, breaking, playing, reviewing, playing again podcast.
Oh, man.
Oh,
we're off to the races. This first ad was sent to us. Did you know that you could send us ads from the internet? You, at home, or on the toilet, or at work, or in the car. Please don't drive and watch this. You can listen to it as a podcast. But did you know that you can email us used ads that are weird and ridiculous and irresponsible, or maybe something that people absolutely should buy? You can email them to us, and we might put them on the show. And if we pick your ad, you're going to win a $25 gift certificate printed on heavy virtual cardstock to the retailer fast food establishment.
Virtual cardstock now. No longer digital.
No, it's still digital.
It's digital and virtual.
Yeah, it's both of those things. It's
and cyber.
It's cyber. It's a cyber deal. It's from Tron, Steve. It's a Tron card. Steve just finally.
That should be my what's new.
Steve just finally watched both Tron movies for the first time in his life.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be your what's new.
That's my what's
So, anyways, maybe this ad will win. Maybe Damon Faulkner will win $25 for just sending in an ad to an email address. This is okay. I'm going to let you read the copy.
Along with Velma Dinkley, inspiration for this build came from vintage Japanese and Italian surf guitars. This is Velma, the little one in the group, with some curves and a few. I'm so already grossed out.
Oh, come on.
Velma is about 10% smaller in overall dimension than an SX Liquid, but she is not an SX. She's a unique offset with lots of offsets and details. Semi-gloss orange flake offset. How many freaking times are... Oh, my God. By custom Padwick hardwood pick guard. Offset dots to the D roller bridge. Goldo trim. Guitar finish P90 humbuckers. Tezzy. Oh, Tezzy kill switch. That's neat. Shout out Tezzy switch. Neck has a 12-inch radius. One piece hard maple with custom headstock in oil finish. Bone nut. Nickel frets. The pick guard is wired for easy removal with all the wiring ending up in a quick barrel style disconnects as seen in the picture. Aluminum oversized knobs and a custom etched neck plate featuring Velma herself to finish sonically. She is a monster in humbucker mode and a twang fest in single coil. She sounds amazing with lots of spring reverb or some heavy fuzz. Very dynamic and no noise. Action is low, holds tune well. Break angle from the bridge to trim is super low, and that feels fantastic. Other details that matter even less than the things that I said. Hashtag Velma guitar.
I didn't read the copy. I didn't know. Like, I knew this guy had a thing for Velma, the character.
Right.
But I didn't know it was going to have an ick to it.
So is this
here, let me play off.
Is this a liquid body?
It's clearly inspired by a liquid body, but I could tell just by looking at it that the dimensions were off. I don't know if he trimmed a liquid body to get this or if he was just trying to copy that shape because he liked it.
Right.
But just looking, I was trying to look at the lower horn and figure it out, but now that I hear that it is smaller, it's like I see that it is more compact. It's so weird for him to make a guitar he's trying to sell for real money based off of a famously budget guitar.
This is $1,000. Okay.
Yeah. But
let's talk about this more before we get back to that $1,000.
First, Steve.
Yes.
It always used to be the debate, Ginger or Marianne.
Yeah.
It seems like it's not even a debate these days. It just seems like everyone prefers Velma over Daphne.
We hit a...
It is Daphne, right?
Daphne,
Yeah.
correct. I think from, whatever, 1968 or whenever Scooby-Doo first came out until, I don't know, like 2016.
Right. And it's crazy that it's a trend now instead of maybe just because Scooby-Doo's done a better job of staying in the public consciousness, of staying in pop culture, where Gilligan's Island is like, when was the last time anyone watched Gilligan's Island?
Yeah.
Where there's new Scooby-Doo stuff all the time.
That everyone hates.
Not everyone hates it.
I haven't seen it, but
Okay.
I know it was widely panned.
Oh, you're talking about the new.
The new.
Okay, no, I'm talking like they've never stopped making Scooby-Doo.
Right, okay,
You know.
yeah.
And there's all sorts of Scooby-Doo that people who are Zoomers and younger are familiar with that were made for them,
I think there is a segment of the general population. I think, historically, yeah, like I said, from 19 whenever this show started until
How
maybe
deep
like
are you gonna go on
until
this?
maybe like 5 or 10 years ago, the vast majority of people are Team Daphne. But in the current like attractive zeitgeist of plus size models and natural thickness and whatever, like the Velma stock has risen significantly. Velma stock. Also,
I don't like the way that you're taking. I don't like this direction.
Also, they played that up in one of the Scooby-Doo movies where Velma's played by Linda Cardellini, and there is a whole part in that movie where she like.
Are you talking about the live action?
The live action.
Well,
one.
the live actions were all TNA.
Right, but they
made Scooby sexy somehow.
But I'm saying like there's a whole thing in there where I don't know what the plot is. She like got in like a brainwashing machine or something, and all of a sudden she's like hot Velma.
That was a weird era where it's like, let's make a Scooby-Doo movie, but it's going to be in the same universe as Dude, Where's My Car for some reason.
Yeah.
Like that's and it makes sense. It makes sense, those sorts of like cultural connections, but come on, like,
I mean, I think the way
I get it. I'm definitely not yucking anyone's yum, but the fetishization of Velma, the first couple times that you encounter it, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's totally, like, I get, like, she totally is attractive. Like, yeah, that makes total sense. But once it became a thing, I'm like, come on, you're trying to act like you're different because, oh, well, no one, like, that's what everyone is doing these days. Everyone's attracted to Velma. We're all attracted to Velma. Okay. You're not special.
Yeah. I find I'll just go to this. The neck plate, I think the choice, though I guess he does say like, this is the ideas to homage like old Japanese, like kind of like the Yamaha samurai kind of stuff. So it's both surprising, but appropriate that the laser etched Velma on the neck plate is like a, manga style, like it's that high Japanese art. What the hell are you doing?
I'm looking for something.
Style of this character, and it's not like the traditional Adventures of Scooby-Doo ones from like the 60s or whatever.
Right.
I think I know what you did. The headstock work. The headstock I think is hideous, but the shape is just kind of. I don't know what it is. It just does not work for me.
The liquid doesn't work shrunk. Like it's a little wonky, but
I think the body's fine. I'm just saying the headstock. I think the headstock looks weird, but I like the raised or whatever. Like
I actually don't mind the headstock.
Way the naming is done. I think that's done well. You think the body's? I think the pit guard is weird. I think the pit guard is not contoured enough.
I see what they were going for. It's tough on the lower horn.
Yeah, I think it looks right on the upper horn, but I think on the lower horn it's off.
It should cut down and meet halfway up the middle of the neck pickup, and the switch should just be the switch should be upper about.
Yeah, that would look cool.
Because that would like push it. It would give you the same kind of like. Some people aren't going to like this, but it would push it in the direction of like the St. Vincent.
Yeah,
which is behind me right now. Like even giving it a little bit of a cut across, like a 45-degree across that lower horn might help it.
I think the pickguard looks really good. I think everything about this looks really good, actually. There's not anything.
I love the sparkle.
Yeah, the sparkle looks really good.
All the hardware looks amazing.
The hardware choices, the Dream whatever pickups it's kind of funny because he talks about this not being an SX, which is sold by Rondo, right? SX?
Yeah.
But then it uses GFS pickups. But then it also uses some premium, like the Tezzy kill switch. That's a premium kill switch.
I've actually got the cheaper version of these pickups. I've been meaning.
Oh, cool.
I've been thinking about installing one in my actual SX Liquid. So that was kind of funny to see this.
And then hip shot tuners.
These are like the Artex or whatever.
That's a premium part. And Goldo. I thought you were actually pulling out a Goldo bridge.
No.
And it has the Goldo bridge on it, which is another premium part. So there is a lot of thought put into this.
There's something about the neck though,
where you look cheap.
You look at the close up of the nut and the edges of the wood, and it looks like a all parts or Mighty Might like cheap unfinished neck.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's not. Maybe this is a very well dressed neck. Like the edges of the frets, like you can't really. They look fine, but they don't look amazing. Actually, the frets look a little bit murky. They don't look like they've been hand polished or anything like that.
No.
So it like $1,000 is there theoretically because he did some really cool finishing work.
Mm-hmm.
The pickguard, if it's not your style, you can still admit that that's clean.
This is
he put good hardware on it. He put a anime picture of Velma laser engraved on the neck plate, which is maybe someone out there appreciates.
No,
that.
I think it goes with a theme.
It does.
I appreciate that is the one that they picked. I'm looking for this store.
I would have gone without the laser engraving. I think that's too much. I think that leans into the ick factor for me, or that's an ick for me.
Mm-hmm.
$1,000 is I can't say no, but I also feel like arguing with it.
There it is.
Because the neck does look cheap, and because we know those pickups, like the other hardware is fine, but the pickups are affordable. I don't know, like I have a set of those pickups in a Harley Benton, and I actually really love the sound of them.
Right.
Like I really like it's a humbucker it's like the size of a mini bucker basically under there, but the actual coils, if you split it, the single coils are smaller than not regular single coil. So you actually get this really fun, like spaghetti Western sound when they're split.
This was originally listed for $1,600.
Holy hell.
That's way too much.
This listing ended. That means no one bought it.
I wonder if it means no one, because it did have 22 watchers.
He decided to keep it.
I wonder if it means that he took it down and made a deal outside of the system.
That's always possible too.
But $1,000, yeah, I
understand why a bunch of people are watching it because it's cool looking.
Yeah,
but without a known builder behind it, because it didn't say, like, it's not a known builder, right? It's a guy.
I assume it was built by Old Roman.
But who's that?
The guy who runs Old Roman's
Gear Locker. Yeah. But like, who is that? Has anyone heard of him? Like.
No.
Maybe someone out there.
And he doesn't have any build. That's what I was just looking up. He doesn't have any other builds.
Right.
Listed. And actually, the guy's name isn't Roman. It's like Old Roman's Gear Locker, Guitars for Gladiators or something. Like he's talking about the Roman Empire, Old Roman Empire, which,
I wonder how often he thinks about that. So, anyways, I know it sounds sucky. Because this could be amazing. It looks really cool. Like he could have made every part of that neck. It might not be in all parts, like I said. But there's no reputation around him.
Right.
There's nothing else to gauge this off of. There's no other work for us to be able to figure out like if this is something of value, because it could just be parts that you could assemble yourself with a little bit of, woodworking in the garage, making the pickguard and stuff.
He does say that he does mention that the frets to what you called out are edge sanded but unfinished.
Okay.
So
I've got a good eye, guys.
He's talked about his neck is a 12-inch radius, one piece hard maple with custom headstock and oil, blah, 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 bone nut.
So it's a parts neck, because if he fretted that neck himself,
right,
he would have been polishing them as he installed them. Because look at the rest of this.
Yeah.
Look at the finishing on this. That you don't accidentally like fall into having on an honestly really great looking finish, but then leave murky frets on a fretboard if you're the one making the neck. It's a parts neck that he got from somewhere.
But
which is totally fine.
But that does totally kind of like beg the question.
A lot of builders use necks built by someone else.
Yeah, but that does beg the question. Like, you do all of this work. There is a lot of attention to detail. Even if I don't like the pickguard shape, this is one of the best.
It's attractive.
Hand carved, whatever pickguards that we've seen in quite some time. But then why wouldn't you just do the little, extra, spend the extra time? So I'm to make those frets look super shiny.
Right. I'm feeling iffy about the price, but if someone pays it, they pay it. If this was a local builder that I knew, like say this is like a buddy, and he starts building guitars.
Okay.
Someone I meet around town, I'm like, oh wow, you build guitars? Look at that. Yes. I'm trying to figure out where I'd be interested. If like buying from a friend who's doing like cool kind of like parts builds.
I mean, I think off of a friend where that they build cool stuff, I'd be willing to do $1,000.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go 1,000 on this.
If they're doing cool stuff. I feel
bad about it.
No, listen to me, because they're a friend. I'm not going to I don't want to nickel and dime somebody who makes something good, but they're like, oh, I'm not going to.
I know.
Like, I don't want to go to somebody and be like, hey, man, you make a really good guitar.
But
Steve, let's be friends.
Steve, where's the price where you're not going to talk shit about them behind their back? Where you're not going to be like, oh, Chuck, his guitars. He wants $1,000 for them. No way, right? Where's the price where you're like, no, that he's charging the right price for what he's doing?
Well, I'm assuming that he's making a bunch of these, and that he's like, it's like
he's gonna dance around it.
I'm saying like you're paying $1,000, you're paying seed money. That's seed money into the future of this dude's brand.
But I'm talking like you down in the core of your heart, you're recognizing what this instrument is actually worth on the market. Like, well, if you were to try to resell it, like what you would expect it to be valued.
Sell it.
Steve is dancing around it so much.
You obfuscate the question by making it your friend.
I know. I complicated this for no reason.
The way I wanted to phrase the question.
This is my fault. I'm sorry.
The question that I was prepared to answer was, what costs gets you in your car driving to some dude's house in Poway?
Right.
Or Escondido or whatever.
I keep having the number 450 pop in my head.
That low. Okay.
Like if I saw this up for 650, I'd be like, oh, I got to check this guy out. I want to like, if he's on offer up, I'm going to follow him,
Mm-hmm.
At 450, I'm starting to be like, I got to go play this thing.
Okay. I was thinking 600 is the price where
I feel like we're floating around the same
600 is at
neighborhood.
least the number where I go like, oh, that's cool.
Listen, if I show up and I play it and it plays great and it's that instant connection, just like that, you strum an E minor and play a couple notes and you're like, oh baby, I'm home. Like I'll pay 650. I'll pay, I'd pay 700 if this felt good off the bat. Not even hearing it, because I can swap pickups if I want to. But if it felt good right off the bat, then I can justify like 700.
You could swap these pickups for the ones you just showed us.
Yeah, for the cheaper Artex. But like if I show up and it feels like it feels like a $150 all parts neck,
sure,
on a nice body, then I'm gonna be like, maybe I could put the aluminum neck on this. I could finally find a home for that, and then this would be a project starter. He did the other work, so maybe like 350,
this
400.
This would look sick with the aluminum neck on it.
It really would. And I want to put it on my liquid. because I think it would look amazing on there.
What would look cool is if you
And I think it would sound cool too.
did a chemical dip on the headstock to etch Velma into the headstock of the aluminum neck.
No, I'm not. Listen, Velma's cute. I absolutely see how she's attractive, and I agree that she's attractive. I agree that Velma is attractive as a fictional character and as a character that's been played by live human actors. I am human like you. Let me express my sexuality. I sound like a robot the way I'm dancing around this, is what I'm getting at. I can't think of who, but if I was going to sexualize a cartoon character and theme a guitar after it, I don't think it would be Velma. I feel like I'd pick someone else.
The thing is, well, one, the first part, the second part is all about color schemes.
Right.
It's less about, so, obviously this one is orange and brown.
Right.
Very much Velma colors. Yeah. If this was a Daphne guitar, it would be purple and orange,
of course,
and green.
If it was Shaggy, it'd be green and maple,
brown,
green brown.
Basically, your Manta Hawk is almost Shaggy.
It's kind of Shaggy-ish,
close to Shaggy.
Yeah, I played that in a video today.
But in a video you made or in a video you published?
A video I published last Friday. There you go.
What? Oh, right.
Yeah. The Catalan
that hurt my brain.
The Catalan bread pedal board giveaway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you announce that I won?
No one's going to know if they win. Someone's going to win every other day of December.
Oh, they're doing that again.
Yeah, but they're going to win the whole pedal board on the last day of December.
Very, very cool. I can't wait to win.
You're not going to win, Steve. If you win, I'm going to make you give it back. What? So you can hold on to pedals that you don't play for 5 years?
Hey, the pedal board's already assembled. I can plug that in. No work required. Yeah, Ryan, tell us about.
I don't know.
Tell us about what character, cartoon character, you want to wrap your fingers around their neck and make them scream.
Oh, stop it! Oh, ick. Gross. Sonic the Hedgehog. No.
When you dig in hard, that guitar really wails. That character guitar? Guitar to guitar?
Not in a sexualized way. I could go for a Dino Riders themed guitar. Like theme it after like one of the spaceships.
Oh, okay.
And the headstock is like the tip of the rocket blaster or the laser blaster.
Yeah.
I could go for that.
Not
have the pendant on it that they used to talk to the dinosaurs.
Not in a sexual way, but Aeon Flux guitar, themed guitar. It's just it's just a giant eyeball with a fly on it.
Yeah. That's the whole guitar, an eyeball with it works. I can imagine it. It's perfect shape for a guitar.
Perfect.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I have like a cartoon crush that pops immediately into my head. Does that make me weird? I don't know.
No, it probably makes you weird because it's normal.
I probably could have answered. I wouldn't have, but I could have answered this question when I was 14.
Ryan, it is.
I'm actually secure enough to answer it now. I just don't have an answer.
It's like 7 a.m. in Germany, and I bet Henning has the answer to this question.
The answer for my question? He knows which cartoon character I'd be sexually attracted to.
Which guitar character he's sexually attracted to.
I'd choose something weird in German. Or so American that it hurts. Like, why, Henning? Why is it so American?
Like Felix the cat or something.
Garfield. Why is that funnier than Felix?
I was literally like in between recording, I was scrolling through my Explore, and occasionally they just get funny videos. And this funny video was a woman who her and her partner, husband, whatever, have done like cat dog. Okay. So they would do like they do like the orange bodysuits, and then they do like Google. Hold on, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna answer your question momentarily. So basically, her whole thing is that she has a bunch of those morph suits with like the face cut out.
Oh, okay.
You remember morph suits? Everyone remembers morph
Everyone
suits, right?
remember. We were all morphin.
And so
No idea what he's talking about.
more like the things that made you look like a wacky wavy inflatable tube man. It's literally like the putty costume from Power Rangers. It's like
you
the
mean like
full
the whole
body
bodysuit?
Yeah.
Okay, like
Doesn't your kid have one?
like the Green Man from Always Sunny?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I didn't know what you were like a morph suit.
Or
What the hell?
the human being from Community. Anyway, so she has a bunch of these, and she has done in one of them some like one of her challenges was hey, can you do sexy Garfield? And there's also one that was like,
redundant.
hey, can you do sexy Eggman? So we've now in this weird cosplayer account, there have been 2 things that are on topic for the things that we just talked about. Very strange world, the internet.
Here we are on the internet.
If you want to support us on the internet,
that's the segue. If we happen to be your internet fetish, you might want to support us.
Head on over to patreon.com/60cyclehumcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get all of the behind the scenes action. We just post things that happen on the show every once in a while. But supporting the show now at the $5 level, we've got Matt.
Hey, if you want extra information to really pad out your 60 cycle hum / fanfic, the Inner Circle is a good place to get that info. You want to ask questions about our personal lives, that's a place you can do it. And you can write your steamy podcast on podcast fan fiction.
Somebody out there
they already
has a secret
they
file
already have
that they've never published.
They already have, and they're probably in the chat all the time, or on the group all the time, or in the premiere all the time.
They're just writing fan fiction about what they think happens at Gearfest.
Big weird guitar YouTuber orgy. Bunch of middle-aged men rubbing their bodies down with fast fret. Dude, don't you dare segue into a sponsorship right now. Don't you dare. Are you kidding me?
That's the order of the show.
I know. Do something else. Literally anything else. What's new, Steve?
We're going to go to you're breaking my...
Okay, fine. Okay, I gave you a little break. Now do the sponsorship.
No, we can do an ad.
No, do the sponsorship now, Steve. We've put a barrier. We had to put a barrier. Holy hell. What date is this airing on?
Christmas Day, baby.
No way.
No, it's not.
Merry Christmas.
But it's
happy holidays.
This is the second episode of December.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do a giveaway where I ask people to write fan fiction. Oh, gross. Fan fiction contest giveaway.
Dude, that could be a Valentine's Day giveaway, and we do have people write one-page fanfics, and we'll read them. For an episode. Just an hour of reading.
I hate this. Is the worst thing we've ever recorded.
Like it'll be like that 5 you know that
and I'm the one who started
that book
it.
That's like 5-minute stories or whatever.
Right.
Just all these like short like two paragraph stories.
Here's what we do. We have the contest. Neither you or me read it. We're not going to read it. We're going to make our wives read them.
Oh my gosh.
But then I'm going to have to edit it. I'll hire our friend Adam to edit it. I don't want to watch the premiere. Like, it'll be cursed episode.
I kind of love this idea.
Oh God, it'd be so awful.
It's so bad.
It's so awful. Yuck. Okay, let's talk about String Joy.
We've talked about a lot of things that are bad. Let's talk about something that's good. String Joy strings. These are the orbiters. I mentioned this before. I've got these on my Les Paul. I've had these on my Les Paul. I don't know how long now, but long enough that any other string that I would have had on there.
There's a law against how long you've had them on there.
I would have definitely be feeling some ick. And these don't feel ick yet. They feel great.
Ick is today's special word.
Ick. If you don't want to feel the ick, use the link in our in our in our description below to go over to the Stringjoy website and use code HUM to save 10%, which in many places is what your nominal state sales tax rate is. So you will not pay those state sales tax. Functionally, Stringjoy will cover them for you, which is fantastic.
A lot of people say Stringjoy strings are too expensive. They're $12. There's a lot of string brands that sell strings for $12. They're not that expensive. They're actually really
It's
reasonable.
not going to focus, is it?
No, it's not. It's manual focus.
Good.
You think I dick around with automatic focus, Steve? What's the point? The camera's never like moving. I always sit in the same spot.
Can you turn does that camera have automatic focus?
Yeah, I could do autofocus.
Oh.
I do manual focus, baby. I hate it when I'm watching a video and it's like I hate it.
We should record an episode on auto anyway.
It'll like skip back.
Go buy some strings. Go buy some strings.
Buy some strings. We like it when we get to some affiliate earnings off of it when you buy the strings. It's like a couple bucks. It doesn't change our lives, but it brightens our day. I'll say that. And you need strings anyways. You're watching a guitar podcast, for heaven's sake. You're going to buy strings, so try them out if you haven't tried them. Is that a good pitch? Did I sell you on it yet? Let me know if I haven't convinced you yet. Tell me in the comments if I haven't convinced you yet, and I'll try new ways.
This was sent by Robert McDowell.
Yeah.
A very cool and one-of-a-kind 3-pickup Teisco.
Friend of the show, Robert.
Era 1960s Japan offset electric guitar in a wild neon green finish. Headstock badge is a replacement from the same era, likely similar, if not exact, to the original brand new Ernie Ball 9s, and a fully set up and intonated monster tones from the 60s Japan single coils, just like Godzilla. Pretty amazing little shredder. Possible trades, whatever.
He's local to us. Every time this pops up on OfferUp, I stop and I look at it.
Oh yeah.
So I like that he sent this because I can't. Ever since we started doing the gift card thing, I can't pick ads for the show anymore because I'm not going to win and I'm not going to disqualify someone else. I like that he picked this.
$315. Brian, if you were willing to offer $100 for that stupid ass tennis racket last episode, I know. This is $315.
I know.
That finish, is that...
It's aftermarket for sure.
But it looks good.
It looks good. It's neon green and like the right neon green. Like it looks fairly glossy. It does have some orange peel in close-up photos, but a reasonable amount. It looks solid.
I like this black-blue perloid thing happening on the pickups.
Oh, yeah.
That's really neat.
That is neat. Ah, damn it.
Right, $315.
Stop it. Stop it. I wonder if you think he'd take pedal trades?
Dude, possible trades for guitar/bass pedals would be considered.
Damn.
I just spat everywhere. I should have swallowed the water all the way first.
That's going to make it in the fanfic.
Let's look around. I think you
don't have to look around. I have a basket full of pedals
for trade
up in the office that when the basket is full, then Lauren's going to list them on Reverb and we're going to sell them. I could send him a picture of the basket and be like, do you want to pick $400 worth of pedals out of here?
Yeah. I think you should do that.
I don't like that it has Strat knobs on it.
Just replace how do you not have extra knobs around here?
I have tons of knobs.
So many knobs.
I have so many knobs. I probably have knobs that would look really cool on this.
Yeah. I'm thinking the problem is it wouldn't match anything else, but I was thinking knurled chrome.
I bet that fourth switch is like a strangle switch, like on a Jaguar.
I think you need to be like, hey, here's a bunch of pedals I have. Are you interested in any of these? I will trade. I will trade $400.
I hate that you're
just send him the list. I don't know what all pedals you have in there, but you could just be like, pick if you want 3 pedals off of this list for the guitar.
I'm actually familiar. I'm actually familiar with that trim unit. That was the same trim unit. It's like a Gaiatone trim that was on that Gaiatone that I bought for Adam.
Yeah,
and I definished it and fixed it up for him and made it playable. It's probably not going to be a great trim. It'll be functional if I can find an arm that'll fit in there.
Mm-hmm. I think you gotta.
Damn it.
I think you gotta make it.
You know this has been listed forever, and if I ever resell it, I'm going to take a loss, right?
You're not, because you're trading pedals for it.
I know, but like in the value, I'm going to take a loss.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. You're going to take a loss anyway if you offer them $400 of pedals for a $315 guitar.
I want it, but I don't. Why did I almost buy a guitar last episode, and now you're talking to me? Well, what is this? Why? I don't need more guitars. I'm running out of space already.
You could sell that guitar.
I know. There's stuff I am gonna sell.
That guitar.
Yeah, I know.
Could sell. No, those ones are cool. Those ones stay.
The ones behind us are all cool. Well, I could sell the Leo James eventually. I'm gonna fix that up. No, I have stuff I can move. I'll write this guy tonight. Like, hey, you want pedals? I want to have fun with that guitar.
Leave a comment.
I think 350 is too much.
Leave a comment in the video, below the video, if you think I'm bullying Ryan too much this episode.
I think the value of 350 is too much. It's been refinished, cool, but
what about 315?
Okay, I meant 3. I feel like this should be 250.
Okay.
But in reality, 275. I feel like I should offer 250 and.
Yeah, just make an offer.
I think he's overvalued it, but I think it is plenty cool.
Offer him 200.
I have no idea how well it's going to play. It's probably going to play exactly how it looks.
Yeah, it says it was last updated 15 days ago, but like you said, you've been seeing it for longer.
How stupid would it be if I liked the neck and I put a mastery rig on this?
That's pretty stupid.
That's pretty stupid, right?
That's
but what if I like it?
Pretty dumb.
It's pretty dumb. How about I get I don't want. Okay, I'll hit him up. I'll hit him up. But do we have anything else to say about this other than it's cool and I should buy it?
Nothing else to say about it.
All right.
It's probably.
Damn it, Steve!
It's probably, they call it Teisco era. They say it's a replacement headstock logo, but it might not be because there are so many brands.
There are so many brands that
were making these.
Yeah, it
like
could have been
said,
anything.
This is probably actually.
It says Conqueror.
Yeah, this is probably actually a Gaiatone, but Gaiatone, same thing. There's probably.
I think the trim is the same hardware that Gaiatone would use. It still could have been like shared parts with Teisco or something like that. Those pickups do make me think Gaiatone though for some reason. Like the strings aren't lined up on. Oh, you can because it's got like the Jaguar bridge pulls. You could line them up on the magnetic pulls. They just didn't do it. This could take a much nicer bridge. And an aftermarket trim of some, I don't know.
Think of all of the videos you could make.
What?
Rebuilding this guitar.
Oh, rebuilding it. I already have like 4 other videos to do that with other guitars that I planned forever and I never get around to them.
Ryan, what's new, man?
I'm trying to make the New Year's resolution to stop caring about what guitars I use in videos and just use cool, dumb things, even if it won't be the best representation of some drive pedal or whatever. Like, just grab a cool, dumb guitar instead of being like, I've got to play one with humbuckers and singles, and it has to be kind of standard so people understand. You're watching 60 cycle hum, baby. I'm gonna get weird. I'm gonna play a guitar that you didn't expect through a Tube Screamer.
Here's an idea.
Even though it's a paid demo and the brand might be like, that was a weird choice.
Here's an idea.
Yeah.
You do a video where you play air guitar and you have a microphone running through the pedal. And so the pedal is actually doing the effects on whatever guitar sounds you're making with your mouth.
Oh, I thought you were just
because it's air.
My hands.
No, because it's air guitar. So you're doing like.
Someone should sell a mute that is an air guitar simulator pedal. It's just a mute, like a momentary mute. Air guitar simulator. It's a good idea. All the DIYers out there are small builders. Jump on that, steal it before someone else can. If
one of you DIYers do it, send it in for the Patreon sponsored DIY pedals videos. You got anything else new?
I've just been trying to figure out band stuff, and it's starting to get murky, and I'm like, I don't know. I want to play music with people.
Oh.
It doesn't necessarily need to be like a huge commitment.
Right.
I want to jam with people. It would be neat to be able to play some gigs.
Mm-hmm.
It would be neat to be able to make music that I think is fun and cool and interesting.
Have you ever thought about thinking?
And I'm not saying other bands
punk,
that I've been playing with aren't doing that, but like it's one of my goals, you know?
You're in San Diego, Ryan.
I know.
You'd have a much better chance of finding a band if you thought either pop punk or reggae was fun and cool.
The reggae part is definitely true. I've been looking at the Craigslist musicians listings.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly like classic rock cover bands.
Mm-hmm.
And then it is reggae, and then it is pop punk, and then it's people who don't really and then it's like legitimate working musicians who are like,
Right.
I need a gigging drummer for the next 2 months. Here's, there's pay involved. Please send me a demo reel.
Ryan, the question I have is, why don't you think Foghat is fun and cool?
Because I'm 15 years too young for that, I guess. I don't know. I'm starting to feel bummed out about trying to be in bands. Maybe it's time to take a break, or maybe it's time to I don't want to write songs. I just want to be a guitarist.
I was going to say you should just start your own recording project, but if you don't want to write songs, that's a problem.
Adam already pitched that to me. Oh, this is where you go and you go lock yourself in a room and you write a bunch of songs and then you find people. I don't want to be a band leader. I don't want to write songs. Right. I don't want to sing.
I was just saying, like, maybe you never perform them. Maybe you just record them and put them on.
I don't want to do that either. I just want to play guitar in a band.
Okay,
I just want to play guitar.
Here's what I'm going to do, Ryan, but it's going to be a long project because I'm slow. I'll write some songs. I'll do all of the other parts, and then in like maybe 10 years, I'll send it to you to record the guitar.
Did you have anything new?
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. I watched Tron.
He watched Tron.
Legacy.
Of all the people that I would have thought had seen Tron.
Yeah, I'd never seen Tron.
You've never seen Tron.
Never seen Tron.
I feel like that would have been like a cultural touchstone for you.
I think that movie came out before I was born.
Yeah, but you're also the person who introduced me to Buckaroo Banzai.
That's true.
The person who introduces you to Yeah, I didn't have cable when I was a kid. I know you watched it on cable all the time. It didn't play on broadcast TV, believe it or not. The person who introduces you to Buckaroo Banzai should not also be a person who's never seen Tron.
I don't think Tron was ever on TV when I was a kid.
It was all... See, this is the difference between cable and broadcast. Cable gets Buckaroo Banzai, and Hannah broadcast gets Tron, because I watched Tron a lot. Tron was on just regular TV a lot.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it came on and I just skipped it. I don't know, but
I don't want to watch this weird glowing frisbee guy.
But yeah, I watched it and it got me thinking. And we talked about this a little bit already. How, like, the first Tron. Okay, a thing I'm really good at. I think a lot of people aren't good at, but a thing that I feel like I'm actually exceptional at is understanding the context of time.
This is like the most
sounds weird.
Steve response to, hey, Steve, did you watch Tron? Well, let me tell you what I'm good at. I'm good at conceptualizing the concept, the flavor, the scent, and the aura. What
I mean by that is like how they say like Star Wars, like each Star Wars trilogy is good for the kids of that time.
Sure.
So like,
okay, all right.
Like how like Zoomers really love the prequels.
Sure, of course, because they were little kids when they came out.
They were little kids when it came out.
It's candy. It's candy. Kids love candy.
And like they struggle to watch the original trilogy because it's like it was on film.
The original
got that grain.
The original trilogy. The original trilogy is an orangutan away from being a trucker movie.
Right.
So that's the reality of it.
And I feel like I'm good at understanding, like in 1977, none of this existed. Like in 1976, none of this existed. So I'm good at having my mind blown. I watched Tron. I had my mind blown. I watched the Tron sequel that came out like 30 years later. About 30 years later. And I didn't have my mind blown. I thought it was fun. It was a fun movie. it was a worthy sequel as far as the story goes. It felt a little fast, even though it's a longer movie. But one of the things I was thinking about,
I think that the thing that blew minds about not that it's mind blowing. Okay. Pump the brakes on that a little bit. But the thing that got people excited about it when it came out is that it was one of those movies that was very left field. And that was when we were still watching things in theaters regularly.
Yeah.
It was a great theater movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great theater movie. It doesn't have to be everything. It like the original Tron is a theater movie. It's just a dumb movie, but it's fun. It's a cultural touchstone. I think that Tron Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Tron Legacy did a great job of being a popcorn movie. I think it did a great job
Yeah.
of picking up a franchise where the source material does look dated. The source material is dated, but they fully honored it. They picked it up and they were like, no explanation needed. Here is that world now.
That's fair that they didn't try to explain anything, but at the same time, I think I struggled with that a little because I felt like it's freaking
Burrito
nachos, man.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. It was hard for me after going on about like context of history and whatever, to not watch it and feel like I was watching, something that would have been equally set in the Blade Runner universe or equally set in new Star Wars. Where it's like, yeah, everything's, I guess, black and white and orange, but it's also like very shiny.
I feel like you're nitpicking and you're like, here's what could have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can agree that it's a competent, entertaining popcorn movie.
Yes.
What could have happened is it could have been like the RoboCop reboot, where it's like, why is this? This misses the spirit of RoboCop.
I'm nodding, but I haven't seen the RoboCop reboot.
Don't.
Because I was too busy watching Dread I've watched Dread twice.
Dread is great. I've watched that probably like 4 or 5 times now. Dread is. I wish there was 5 more of those.
But the thing that Tron Legacy got me thinking about is because of where we've progressed, in terms of like video games, like Tron Ultimate, like the original Tron is a video game. It feels like you're in a battle zone world, right?
Right.
Or like the bike game is basically Snake.
Right.
The light bikes, they're basically playing real Snake, right?
Yeah. Arcades were huge when the first Tron came out. So it was all a huge reference to arcade games.
Yeah. And I think the way that arcade games, video games have all moved is towards like hyper realism. And so I don't know how you make a movie that's supposed to be set in a game universe that works in the same way Tron did, because everything's hyper realistic now.
The problem is that you're thinking of the Tron universe as an analog to the Wreck-It Ralph universe, and it's not. It is not a video game world. It is a world where sprites and bits of code are sentient and exist within a mainframe and exist within programs.
Okay,
and they're not not necessary. They interact with games as programs, but it's more abstract than that.
Sure.
It's not. They're not living in a game world. They're living inside of a world that humans have created when they created microchips and processors and circuitry and things like that. We created a new frontier inside of computers, and that's what Tron is about, and that's like the whole philosophy of it.
Okay. Well, I did read,
not that it ever needs to be that deep, because it doesn't.
I did read that they are working on a third Tron movie. Is that exciting?
I'll watch it. I'm skeptical that it'll be good, because I was surprised that the new reboot was good.
Are you ready to have it ruined for you?
Yeah, ruin it for me.
It's starring Jared Leto.
Is it? Why?
And speaking of things that are way cooler than Jared Leto,
at least it wasn't Chris Pratt. But why? When are they going to stop giving that guy work?
It's Tron in time.
They might as well given it to The Rock.
I'd watch a Tron movie with The Rock in it.
He's probably going to be in it.
That would be way better than Jared Leto. And then instead of having Daft Punk do the soundtrack, they're going to have 30 Seconds to Mars do the soundtrack.
The soundtrack was a huge deal on Legacy.
Yeah. It was cool. It's a cool soundtrack.
It
fit the movie very well.
It was perfect for the movie. It had the right vibe. I don't have a lot of hope for it now.
Ryan,
I hope that it doesn't suck, but I think it will.
I need you to pick up your pedal board.
Oh yeah, because this is time to talk about Chase
this
Bliss.
Episode is sponsored and brought to you and whatnot by Chase Bliss. Ryan's got a Chase Bliss.
It's all the way down here and right here. I've got the Dark World, which is honestly, I think, my favorite shimmer style reverb, but it's super weird and super different for a shimmer reverb. It does a totally different thing. I mean, it still shimmers, but the way I have it set up is that it oscillates slowly in between a high octave shimmer and a low octave shimmer, and you get everything in between. It just always feels like it's moving, so it never feels like that boring, like, it's always the same kind of like shrill sort of thing. The fact that it moves makes it feel really organic. And then I've got the Gravitas on here, which I use as a very simple tremolo, but it does crazy stuff that I feel guilty that I don't get into more often because it's pretty wild.
It's pretty mind-blowing. If you want to find out more about Chase Bliss, head on over to chasebliss.com. They just came out with a new pedal.
The Lossy.
It's
pink.
It's like a collaboration with a company that did like a plugin to make it sound like the 90s.
We recorded this episode right after last week's, and I still haven't watched to see what it sounds like.
You could have done it in between.
No, because I was calming down my daughter who was crying because she poked herself in the eye when she was trying to fall asleep.
If you showed her the video, it would have calmed her down.
That's true. I should have done that. That would have been a great sponsor spot.
Ryan.
You know what? My daughter poked herself in the eye, and she couldn't fall asleep. She was crying. I played her a demo of the Lossy. She fell right to sleep. Buy yourself a Lossy this holiday season.
Right.
Yes, Steve.
Do you have the next topic ready?
I feel like we should skip the topics because we went so long on other stuff. We're at 53 minutes, Steve. I feel like that topic deserves more time.
We can give it all the time we want.
Do you want to go long?
I don't care.
I'm going to let you decide.
You're the tired one.
Yeah, but I'm not. Nothing's going to change for me.
Do you have I think if we don't do it now, I don't think you're going to remember it.
You're probably right. Okay, Dan Pratt asks, 90s gear is being marked as vintage. Talk about how this is somehow possible, yet also not okay, speaking as a 90s kid here. So, the way I'm going to start this.
Start it.
When I first got on the internet as a young guitarist, it was the late 90s, probably 97, 98 or something like that. And I was getting on groups and forums and whatnot, Harmony Central, all that. People were fighting it out, trying to figure out if 20-year-old guitars were vintage, like late 70s Strats, even early 70s Strats. Like, are these can't be vintage?
I mean,
well, how could these possibly be vintage? It was 20 years ago. But, that's 68. Absolutely vintage.
Right.
But a 78 right now, a 1993 Mexican Strat, a 1994 Mexican Strat is 30 years old. We were fighting about 70 Strats in the 90s. Here we are 30 years later talking about guitars that are 10 years older than that division, where we were like, a 60s guitar, definitely vintage. It has to be vintage.
Yeah.
The 70s guitar, I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced. And then 10 years ago, it was like, how could 80s guitars possibly be vintage? Does anyone debate right now that an 80s guitar is vintage? A guitar from the 80s?
I think 80s are still up in the air.
They shouldn't. 80s guitars are vintage now. It's a different era of construction. I can understand people being like, I can't see how a 90s Strat could be vintage, because it feels like it's too similar of an era of construction. You get into 80s construction and things have changed a lot. Like, think about the finishing on a Japanese Strat in 1986 or whatever. Like, that's a vintage guitar. Think about the way the plastic feels. Think about the hardware being used. Those are vintage guitars at this point. They're removed from our era.
They are. Oh shit.
80s
Somebody's got now this looks like it's in Switzerland, so maybe it's marked up a little, but somebody's got a 1988 American Stratocaster for $2,700.
Fender reissued the Strat, the black headstock STRAT with a Floyd.
Yeah.
They reissued it. They're reissuing 90s guitars. They're Kurt Cobain, Jag Stings and stuff like that. Like the 90s are vintage now. If I went and bought an original run Talman with a long lower horn, a 90s Talman, that would be vintage. That's a vintage guitar.
I think vintage in this context implies a level of value.
Of course.
So if you're going to use a 25-year rule, which that's the classic is the 25-year rule. So yeah, like, up until like 2010 or so, there was still a lot of debate. 2010, I would have taken you back to 1985. I think with the guitars, that line might be longer. Right now, all over Reverb, you can find USA Strats from the late 80s in the same price bucket. Here's a 1989 USA Stratocaster Midnight Blue for $1,300. Here's another one for $1,500. That's the same price as the.
I don't think it means they're not vintage. They don't have to command the price. The price that's similar to a 1952 whatever. Like it
doesn't. But
they will get there though. Maybe not at the same level, but notable examples. I think we will see things that climb and climb and climb, and they'll surprise us. We'll be like, really? That thing? And there's a lot of stuff from the 60s. Like, I'm probably going to buy that green Teisco for $300. That's a vintage guitar.
But sure. Yeah. I think that there's...
It grew on a vine. It got bottled up.
And
we see the year on it, and it's like, it's got an oakiness to it.
So I think you can call it vintage. Sure, because it's older.
Know. That's subjective.
Where I'm thinking about this is, and I question this in terms of long term. So we think about examples, over time.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just talk about Fender. You've got hallmark years for the Fender Stratocaster: 1954, 1957. I don't know what changed, but 1957, 1962, 66. Not for the Strat so much, I don't think, but
for offsets, for jazz
for
masters.
offsets for sure. There's probably for I want to say like 75. I don't know why, but that's like a reissue year around there. You have different eras. So you have like 1965, 1966 division with pre CBS versus CBS era.
The problem with this logic, Steve, is that you get into the 80s and the 90s and so on, and the models start to be called the 65 reissue.
Yeah, no.
So it's like you have a vintage that is a reissue of a vintage.
Sure, you absolutely do. That's not where I was going.
Sure,
where I'm going is I think with the 70s ones, around the time when you would have got.
Are we going to start calling guitars like, oh, this is a 96-66 reissue?
We already do.
I know it's silly to think about.
We already do.
I know.
If you are shopping for Japanese Fenders from the 80s,
will it go another level? Will it be like, oh, this is a 23-96-66 reissue?
We already do.
Do we?
Not like that. But okay, think about this. When we talk about Jag Stings, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about 1996?
Right.
You're talking about 2003? You're talking about 2013? Like they've reissued that guitar multiple times.
I'm talking like there was in 1966 they made a Jazzmaster.
Yeah.
Then I'm just making stuff up here. I'm spitballing. I know I'm not going to get the dates right. Then say in 1986 they make a 66 Jazzmaster.
Yeah.
Then let's say in 2036 they make a 1986 1966.
Right. So they don't.
And then in 2056 they make a 2036 1986
Sure.
66. Like, you just, like, it's reference, like, it's a reissue of a reissue of a reissue.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is a reissue of the type of the style that they made the reissue in the 80s. Like, it's got poly on it. It's got a poly finish.
I suppose they haven't done like that level of Russian
ridiculous, stupid,
right,
dumb idea that I have that no one else thinks is even viable.
But there is a thing of, like, you know, you buy a 57 Strat, or you buy the Japanese 1984 57 Strat,
right,
or you buy the 2023 Fender Custom Shop 57 Strat.
The like year is a brand at this point.
Yeah,
you know, like
and so you have some of that. You have these eras around the time that you were talking about, late 90s, around the time when I really got into gear groups in the early 2000s. You could still buy a 70s Stratocaster,
they were cheap,
for under $1,000. Now you very rarely see them for less than 2,000. Inflation, blah blah blah, whatever. But inflation doesn't really hit the used guitar market the way it hits the new guitar market in some ways. So that value
it's a fairly
increase,
soft market, like, it responds
that value
pretty
increase
slow.
for 70s guitars from $1,000 to $2,000 or even $3,000 in some cases, is a clear indication of a change in the way that we value these things. Certain 80s Fenders, particularly Japanese ones, have gone up. But the reason I was pointing out, like, a 1988, 1989, 1990 American Strat hasn't gone up in value. And I don't know that we're going to see, I don't know when. Obviously, at some point we will see late 80s, 90s, even 90s Mexican Fenders go up in price. I think could really be a scarcity thing. And what I don't know, and maybe someone out there knows, has done the research, is at what point did Fender start, like, cranking? Like, how many Stratocasters did they make in 1980 versus 1990 versus 2000? I, only observational, wonder if somewhere in the mid 80s we entered the guitar equivalent of what in the sports card they call the junk wax era. The junk wax era is probably mid 70s through the mid 90s, when you could go to any drugstore in the United States and buy a pack of baseball cards, football cards, whatever. Maybe you only wanted that stick of gum. Maybe that's why Ryan probably bought baseball cards, because he wanted that stick of gum.
Steve, I never once bought baseball cards.
He's sitting there, Ken Griffey Jr., fuck that guy, Mark McGuire, whatever. Oh, gum, hell yeah, I'm out of here.
A friend had a baseball card that was worth $500, and his dad put it in this acrylic brick.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, we're saving that to pay for some of my college.
Yeah.
And, like, we believed that it would make a dent in his college education.
Yeah.
We're like,
well, that's a different problem.
$500.
So, well, and
someday
probably
cash that in.
If he pulled that out of a junk wax era pack, it was probably worth $500. That I was actually watching a video recently. So there's this really cool card from like 1990, 1991. I'm making a point. Don't worry, I'm getting there. It was a Deion Sanders, because he played football and baseball. So it was a card that had two sports on it. And the guy said that he took that card to a trade show, like collector show, like, you know, you have these good Amigo guitar show kind of a thing, but for sports cards. Sure. And I like how I over explain these things, like you don't know what a card show is.
Steve, what are these objects made of? Explain the process of manufacturing.
Well,
them.
They're made on heavy card stock. It's not digital.
It's analog.
But somebody at a trade show offered him like $100 for the card, and he's a kid, and he's like, "This is the coolest card ever. I'm not trading it." You can buy that card on eBay all day long for like $7 now.
Right. So who knows?
So all that to say is, yes, 1998, technically, if you go by, again, the old 25-year rule, which was the standing rule for a very long time that people would reference 25 years as vintage. 1990, a guitar made in 1997 is vintage. 1998 is new vintage, right? That's the new vintage year. But were there just too many guitars on the market for any of them to really command value?
There might be an issue of too many guitars made then versus the amount of demand now and the amount of guitars that have been made since then. Like, guitars are not a scarcity now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guitars, and they don't go bad. They don't spoil.
There,
you can keep them going a long time. And another point I'm going to make.
Sure.
I think that poly has slowed the vintage process. Poly is a finish. Because, all those guitars from the 80s through the 90s, they're bulletproof. Their finishes are bulletproof.
Yeah.
They have a couple chips. They have a big, ugly scuff on them, but they're still there. Like the finishes from the 60s, they're hanging on. They're barely hanging on. If you play that guitar, then they're rubbing off like chalk. Yeah. Not literally, but like the chances for the relicking and the aging and for that guitar because for something to be vintage, it has, and to be desirable as vintage, to accumulate value as vintage, it has to have something that the new version doesn't have. And a lot of times that thing is the sensation, the experience of age.
Yeah.
If something doesn't age as quickly, it's going to feel like it doesn't become vintage as quickly. It's not just this nostalgia pushback of like, oh no, something from my teens can't be vintage now because then I'm vintage and then I feel insecure about my age. It's not all that. Even though we didn't touch on that at all, because that's definitely a factor for a lot of us. I think because the guitars are not aging the same way, and because guitars, believe it or not, have gotten way more affordable, many of us have too many guitars and we don't get the opportunity to age them the way that someone in the 70s would have aged their only guitar that they could afford, their only American guitar, because it was literally cost as much as a car. It costs as much as getting a Chrysler station wagon. They decided to get a guitar instead. Or they could have bought a house for 3 guitars,
Yeah.
Like, versus now where it's like a guitar, it can cost as much as like 2 video games now. And like you can have too many of them and you don't play them long enough to age them. The fact that they don't age quickly anymore, I think plays into that feeling of like, this isn't old. This stuff isn't old. Because it's not aging the way that I expect an old thing to age. And therefore I'm not old either. I'm young still, right? I still got tread on the tires.
I think there's something to be said for some of the mythologizing.
That's the right way to say it. That's the right way to say it, Steve. You did it.
Is it?
No.
How would you say it?
Mythologizing?
Mythologizing.
I can't believe I nailed that first try.
Mythologizing. I could spell it. I just couldn't say it.
Right.
Mythologizing around different things. So I watched, I think it was Does It Doom made a short video on Threads. Actually, I think I saw it on Threads, where he was talking about the Gibson Goodwood era, which is typically, a lot of people say like 90s Gibsons it was a good wood era. Like they were very high quality. And if you have better than like the late 2000s or the early 2010s. And one thing that I will say is, while I think the cost of a 1996 American Strat and a 2016 American Strat are probably the same, I did not look that up. A 1996 Gibson Les Paul Standard on average is commanding like a few $100 more than a 2016 Gibson Les Paul Standard. So there is something maybe to that mythologizing, but also of certain eras, of certain times.
Gibsons are still nitro.
That's true. Gibsons are still nitro.
You are going to feel a 10-year age difference in a 96 versus a 2006. Like if they're both guitars are played at the same average amount of time, that will be a difference that you will be able to feel.
Yeah,
you might
that's
even
fair.
be able to see it. Like the wood's going to shrink and dry. Like the edges of the fretboard are going to get more and more rolled as you play, and your ring rubs up and down it and stuff. Like it's going to feel older, and it's going to feel unattainable. That feeling will feel unattainable from a newer instrument. So if you're into vintage instruments, it's going to be more appealing to you.
I don't disagree.
Have I talked myself into being an appreciator of nitro? Now I have so few nitro guitars.
Do you have any nitro guitars?
The 66 Jazzmaster.
That's nitro.
That's
really?
nitro.
I did not know that. It's so shiny.
It's not that shiny.
It looks shiny.
It is nitro though.
I mean, I guess Gibson nitro is also shiny.
The Titan has a really thin.
The Titan has a really thin.
It's picked up some dings and stuff. Oh, the Harmony has nitro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's nitro.
So I think the nitro thing could play into it. I think the stories around them, because again, that's why all the Fender Japan stuff is poly, and sometimes very thick poly.
So thick. But that feels vintage to me. When I pick up a MIJ Strat,
it's unique. It's something unique about it.
It's like that's unattainable. That's a sign of its era.
Yeah.
It's from an era of manufacturing.
I remember being in conversations where people would talk about the fact that, like, I think from again 1988 until 2008. So what is that, like 20 years? The Fender American Standard was unchanged. Like it was the same logo, the same, all that stuff was all the same. No real significant changes to the guitar itself for that entire time. I want to say around 2008 or so is when they started making some tweaks to like the hardware it came with.
I remember people throwing a fit over that and just being like, I get a new standard every year. Like I've had, like, what am I going to do? They're not going to make it the same way anymore. Like it was weird. Like people got upset when they stopped doing the same thing every year. The
flip side of that is if you make too many changes too many years in a row,
then you get too far away.
I know I'm picking on Fender a lot, but that is a thing that they've kind of done over the last few years, particularly on like because the Mexican stuff was the same way. They made the same basic Mexican Stratocaster from like, I don't think quite the late 80s, but like the early 90s through 2008. And then they changed the logo up in 2009.
They got really crazy when they made the California series.
Oh, I forgot about those.
Some of them were orange.
But like from 2009 to like 2014, they had the newer version of the Fender Standard Stratocaster, and then they don't even make the Standard Stratocaster anymore. They make the Players Series and the Players Plus, and and they've gone through a couple different variations of those over the last decade or so, or whatever, 8 years. So
I feel like
maybe that will make those more valuable in the future. Oh no, this is a genuine 2011 Standard Stratocaster. It's got the 2011 logo, not the 2008 logo.
I think all the weird stuff is going to be very collectible, like all your Jaguarillos and things like that.
All those like paranormal series, and whatever
the blacktop stuff.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think that's.
I mean, we already see it with like people collect Vista series.
Yeah,
like
people collect Squire 51s.
Yeah, that's weird. That's still weird to me. Like they're an interesting guitar, but like,
man,
those were the Bullet Mustangs.
Makes me wish I could pick up a one of those Squire Starcaster semi hollows for $100.
Those 51s had like cheese grater frets on them. I remember the frets being so sharp.
But if you were like if the kinds of people who wanted the 51s to mod because they were like had a cool routing and whatever, they were going to do the fret work.
We're dangerously sounding like a competent guitar podcast this episode, and
I
don't like it.
Ryan,
can we go back to being stupid?
We got one last ad, and I assume it's stupid because it was sent by Aaron Abubo.
It's not stupid, actually.
Oh, why is this blurry?
Oh, because he took the small setting on his phone. You want to see something crazy? It's the heel of the neck thin fretboard again.
Oh, with the curve.
Yeah.
There we go. That must just be a 60s thing that we're too stupid to know about.
We did the bass last episode, and here we go see it again. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah. I'm
back to being stupid
This
again.
is a thicker rosewood. It's definitely thicker than that one, but
not that much.
But it's still going with that curve.
Yeah, it's definitely way thinner than modern.
Again, I don't think they do that anymore.
Hey, someone tell me, does Fender do that anymore? Like on their vintage style instruments? Yeah. There's binding on the 66 Jazzmaster, so we can't check that. And I don't have anything else that would tick that box. But I want to check now. Is Fender recreating that on their vintage style instruments? The thin veneer of rosewood versus the slab that we get now? Because that could be a totally different feel.
If you want to see 24 photos, go to Los Angeles Craigslist and search 1964 Duosonic. Facebook limits me to 10 photos here. This 1964 Fender Duosonic has obviously been modified, but still retains its original neck plate, and body. While it's far from original, it's a fantastic vintage player and is probably the cheapest playable pre-CBS Fender on the market. Why and when this guitar was modified has been lost to time since the previous owner passed away many years ago. The most obvious modification is the trem/whammy bridge. The bridge is a Washburn 2001 unit, and these require no routing to install, so fitting an original type bridge back onto this guitar is possible without filling a large hole. Only 3 to 4 extra screw holes were added to the body to fit this. The neck retains the original finish, logo, frets, etc. This guitar plays fantastic, low action, and the neck is super broken and uncomfortable. I did see a picture of the neck. It is very broken in. This has the clay dots like other pre-CBS Fenders and the Brazilian board. Those clay dots sell for $50 a piece on eBay. I looked it up one time. The frets are in rather good shape, nice straight neck. The fretboard has some finger grooving into it from lots of playtime, but it plays great up and down the neck. Did you already say that? There's a brass nut installed that was well done and a locking nut behind it. It just gets weirder. When I bought it, the tuners were completely missing, but I placed an error-correct set of reissue tuners on it as I was wanting to slowly bring this back to a more stock form. I had planned to remove the trim system, but I didn't. The bridge pickup is a 1970s DiMarzio Super Distortion.
Nice.
The same pickups Kurt Cobain often used and converted his Mustangs to HS setups like this. I had planned to leave the pickup as well, but I wanted to cut a new guard and change the controls.
And this guy basically wanted to do everything that anyone who's going to buy this is going to want to do.
The pots are not original, a bit of a mess. The tone pots work, but the volume knobs do nothing. The pick guard is rather haggard. It's had a piece added where it broke and has other cracks. White finish on the body is, quote, is an eggshell texture, bumpy and flat. I believe it was originally red, then blue, then white. I was just going to leave it, but thought sanding it 3 places to expose other colors underneath may give it a cool jawbreaker look, or with super dedication, the original finish may be savable, but that would be a lot of work to expose. The neck plate is an L series used on 1960s Fender. Parting the guitar, I could net $1,200 to $1,300. The neck is worth half that. The neck plate is worth hundreds, as is a 1970s DiMarzio Super Distortion. Hate to part it out. You could get this guitar anyway. How often do you need volume knobs? That's a great question. Anyway, the direction of this guitar is up to the new owner. Play it, restore it, partially restore it, mod it, part it out, etc. $1,000 firm.
I did a search on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
I extended my range 1,000 miles, Steve.
And you could
that goes out into the ocean.
Yeah.
This isn't listed anywhere anymore. That means it's sold. I already had in my gut, like, this is a good deal. Like a 1964 Duosonic in stock condition is going to be above $2,000, like high $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like that trim. There's no routing underneath it. You can pull it off. There's just going to be screw holes. You could swap in the stock bridge if you want. Who knows? This trim is still on here. It might be a ton of fun. It might be a blast on this guitar. It doesn't look like it fits at all. It is a massive piece of brutalist machinery.
Why does it have 4 knobs? Is it volume tone?
Maybe. This is mostly reversible stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
This is a well-aged guitar. Mm-hmm. Like the way that the fretboard is worn in like that is very romantic. Are you kidding me? That's beautiful. The finger grooves in there. You can plug up the holes from the bridge and that locking nut, and put a little dowel in there, and someone who's a tech who's really good at finishing will match the clear coat and cover it up very, very tastefully. And you could get a new pick guard or get a vintage pick guard and the vintage pickups and restore this completely if you wanted to, and start the project at $1,000 and sell that DiMarzio and sell that bridge, and probably be getting out the door to restore this thing. My gut tells me $1,500 after you sell things.
Not bad. And I think you're right. I don't think it would take a lot.
It wouldn't. It sounds like there's no wood missing. It looks great. It has the right kind of aging for that. Like, yeah, it's got a brass nut. You can replace nuts. Swap in an aged bone nut. It would be the right thing to do if you were restoring this guitar if it didn't have a brass nut. But also, like, what if this is a hoot? What if this is a ton of fun?
It does look like a ton of fun, and this falls into that category. When did these Washburn bridges exist?
It had to be late 70s or through the mid 80s or something like that.
They said it's a Washburn 2001. Maybe
that's a model number because it sounded futuristic.
I know. That's the model number.
2001 in the future.
This says
where machines rule the planet.
I found one that says it's circa 1987. Again, we've kind of talked about this before, and this kind of goes back to the topic we had this episode. Like, we romanticize these eras, but in 1987, a 23-year-old Duosonic was just a 23-year-old student guitar that was better than anything that Teisco was making, but like grunge didn't exist yet. You probably could have bought a 1964 Fender Duosonic at a pawn shop for like $350.
The equivalent of it. The equivalent of it, for sure.
Yeah. So, somebody bought this. Maybe
that's why there's so many mangled Mustangs.
Maybe it was their dad's old guitar. Who knows?
People would buy them cheap and they're like, oh, I wish it was a BC Rich. Yeah. And they try to cut weird shapes into it.
Somebody had this and they were like, I really like the way this feels, but I wish it would shred.
I own a Duosonic. It's the guitar that I've owned the longest of all the guitars I have right now. I've always thought of it as a secret shredder. Like, it legitimately, like, the first guitar that I picked up that reminded me of it because it felt so different from everything else was an Ernie Ball Axis. I was like, oh, this kind of feels like my Duosonic. Weird. It's the shreddy, fast, fun guitar. The fact that they're short scale means that the strings feel really slack. You can put heavy strings on it, but still play it really fast. I'd love a Duosonic built to shred with some sort of Floydy divey thing on there and a hot humbucker. That sounds like a blast. So if this had been local and I had known about it, I would have been sitting on the edge of my seat, like trying to talk myself in or out of it.
I thought this information was on Wikipedia, but I'm not seeing it.
And as far as I'm concerned, like per our previous conversation, the whole thing is vintage. I know it's modified, but that bridge is vintage now. The pickup is vintage.
The bridge is vintage.
It's all vintage. It's just different eras of vintage. This is no different than if in the late 90s you had a 60s Strat with a 70s bridge on it.
Yeah.
It's all vintage. It's mismatched brand wise, but it's we're looking at a fully vintage guitar here. It's just been modified.
Okay, this is the information that I was looking for. I know it says 3/4 on here, but I wanted to confirm this. I assume, because this went for the Music Master, I assume it also went for the Duosonic, because what I looked at before I really looked at the end of the neck, the neck butt, whatever you would call it, is it heel, is that this is a 21 fret neck, and something I learned recently that somebody on there's gonna be like, I can't believe you had a guitar podcast for 10 years and you just learned this, is that the 21 fret neck was always a 22.5 inch scale.
Okay.
And the 22 fret was a 24 inch scale consistently.
Right. So, and that's not the short version of the Duosonic. There's also
no, this is the short version of the Duosonic.
I've got the 20.
You have like the
0.7.
weird ass Mexican reissue.
But I think didn't they have an
No,
original
they
version
did-
that was
they
small?
Did that, they did that for the 90s.
Maybe
Yeah.
you're right.
At least that's how they talk. Again, I'm going off of
Sure.
Wikipedia. They talk about the reissue. In 1993, Fender
don't have to
released
get too
a
deep in
Mexican-made reissue Duosonic in a 22.7-inch scale in black, red, and white.
I've got the black one.
White. This is $1,000. There's a part of me that like feels like I need to track down some dumb modified vintage Fender like this and just drop $1,000.
I think I might have if this had been local.
Yeah.
If I had seen this email when Aaron sent it, I might have asked him to go pick it up for me, and then I'd grab it from him
Send
at
him
NAM or
$1,000.
something. Yeah, send him $1,000. Hey, Aaron, go get this.
Ryan,
Yeah,
Adventurous Club.
this one's tough because we've got the Teisco that I might end up trading for.
Yeah, the Teisco you're going to try to buy.
We've got the Velma.
We've got the Velma.
Very sexy. Very sexual.
We, had a long discussion on your animated character fetishes and trying to figure
or
out
my lack thereof.
or your lack thereof.
We have some very entertaining guitars this
We
episode.
got this vintage incorrect.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I don't know. I think I got the most excited talking about the vintage incorrect.
I think I had the most fun trying to get you to buy a green Teisco. I think we're going to have to flip for this.
Where'd my spin doctor's pick go?
Uh-oh. Where did it go? Did you lose it?
I
Is
hope
it that
not.
one? Is it?
I don't think so. It's buried somewhere over here. Well, you know what? Every time you flip the spin doctor's pick, you win. So flip this Fender pick for me.
All right. You want the...
I want tails.
Which side is tails?
The unprinted side.
I have a back injury.
Oh, Steve, I'm sorry.
I just smell like menthol all the time.
Add that to your fanfic about Steve. Is that he has a bad back right
You
now.
want the side with no print.
Right.
So the side with no print is the vintage
Incorrect.
incorrect. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Oh no, I lost it.
That's what happens when you don't have the spin doctor's pick. You gonna try again or call it off the floor?
You don't want me to call it off the floor because I would win if I called it off the floor.
All right, try again.
Was that a good flip? Was that a good enough flip?
Yeah, I think that's good enough. You won. How come he always
All right.
wins?
I don't know, man.
We might as well just give it to you. Like Steve just gets to decide now. I'm not going to choose anymore. Just whatever Steve wants.
Green Teisco.
Congratulations, Robert McDowell.
Congratulations. Oh, that's so dumb. Sorry. Used to, you would flip it all the time too, so you can't even.
I
think,
know
like-
it's not you doing it. It's the
Yeah.
universe that agrees with you, Steve.
All right, we're gonna do this song. This was sent by Chris Badger from the band Fly Janet. He says, I spoke with you on Instagram. Here is our single from our newest release. We are an instrumental surf rock band from Houston, Texas, and Denver, Colorado. This song is called The Man in the Hat. I need to download it.
The Hat Man, huh? I've heard about the Hat Man.
I'm the man in the hat.
Wonk, wonk. A very stereotypical thing to do in surf songs is to do the blues progression. And it's always really great to hear a surf song that doesn't do that. So that was really fun. I really like that like that part in there. Like it's a really nice change up. That was a fun song. I like that a lot. Good job. It's short too. Jeez, I bet the names were just flying.
Minute 41.
Wow. All right. Bye, everybody.
Stay grounded.